So we talked about confidence coming from the front office, and I think the Edmonton Oilers could sure use some, certainly in net. You look at Mike Smith, another 4-goal game against this at the hands of the Tampa Bay Lightning on Wednesday night. And that now is 8 goals against in his last 29 shots faced. It seemed last week, Mike, like Mike Smith was getting it together, a 3-game stretch at a 940 clip. And it was like, okay, Mike Smith is healthy. He's good. This guy is going to get back to the level that he was at last season. And you're seeing some potential flaws in his game that really are kind of alarming at this point.
Well, I think he's getting exposed in a couple of different areas that teams realize. And, you can be a goaltender in the National Hockey League and rattle off 2 or 3 games in a row purely on feel, playing by the seat of your pants. If you're feeling the flow, you might be able to rack up those numbers. But there's been far too many games this year and 4 and 5 goals against. And I think that right now, Mike Smith is relying too much on technique and not enough on reaction. And you look at last night's goal against Steven Stamkos that he allowed, the shots from the dot. And Smith is down in RVH on his post in an integration, and Stamkos scores top shelf, blocker side high. And it's not surprising because players now know that this is an area that Smith is susceptible because he tends to stay on his goal line. He tends to stay down and linger in that RVH post integration. And no goaltender should be in that from the dot. That's a move that's for the goal line and just slightly ahead of it in the right way. Just several games previously, 2 games before, Trevor Zegras scored in a similar fashion, albeit from the goal line. But you can see how small Mike Smith is playing. He's got his paddle down. He's on the goal line. He ends up in his net. That's not ideal for a big goalie. He's 6'4". There's no reason to be paddled down there. RVH in that scenario was okay, but you got to stay big and stay up on your edges. And I think teams now are realizing Smith's on his goal line. If you can move the puck quickly and get shots above his pads to either side, he's getting beat by those. And that concerns me going forward. Edmonton has been a hot button topic all year with goaltending. But right now, I'm not sure where Mike Smith's game is. He's going to need more for them, Frank, to get to the playoffs. I just don't know how Ken Holland can make a deal. You've reported on it. It's a tough trade market out there for goaltenders, isn't it?
It is, but at some point you have to do something. Like I think, and we're
Yeah.
beyond that. I think the surprising thing for the Edmonton Oilers, Mike, this year is the resistance to change. You saw the
Hmm.
calls for the coach's head and Dave Tippett that began in early January, sort of right after the holidays, and it took another 5 weeks or 6 weeks for the Edmonton Oilers to get to that point before Ken Holland makes the gut feel deal. And in this sense, the same thing's happening again with Mike Smith. It was, let's get him healthy, let's get him back. Well, he's healthy now. The question is, how long is he going to be healthy at 39 with 2 sort of unique injuries this year? Is another one coming? You can't feel confident on that front, and you can't feel confident with the on-ice product that you've seen from him. So I think the Oilers players can say and publicly all they want about their support for Smith, their support for Koskinen, and that's all great. But I don't know how you can begin to think of the Edmonton Oilers, not just as a playoff team, but as a Stanley Cup contender, given where they're currently constituted in net. It may be difficult. You may not like the acquisition cost, and you may not like or think that the goaltenders on the market are difference makers, but you at some point have to do something because this
Yep.
team, their on ice failings at this point, their shortcomings are emanating from the net. When you rank in the 20s in save percentage as a team, that's not anywhere near good enough getting it done. And at some point, step up or not, no one said life as an NHL general manager was easy. If not, anyone could do it. So
Yep.
those are my thoughts on the Edmonton Oilers and their crease. Insight from you, fantastic. Just on the little flaws that you're seeing in Mike Smith's game.